The rate at which this vibration occurs is called its frequency. Sound waves at high frequencies are high-pitched. Humans can hear sounds at frequencies between 20 and 20,000 waves per second and don't perceive pitches outside that range. Bats, on the other hand, can hear and produce sound at frequencies over 100,000 waves per second, way beyond the range of human hearing. Here, we've slowed down a bat's chirp so you can hear it. This chirp is the first step in the process of bat echolocation, the primary sound that the bat will use to detect information about its surroundings. The bat listens as the chirp leaves its body and bounces off its surroundings. When the sound returns to the bat, the cartilage of the outer ear funnels the sound waves into the ear canal. The waves then reach the eardrum, which vibrates in response. These vibrations are transferred further into the ear to the basilar membrane, which runs the length of the cochlea. The bat echolocates so fast that it can track down a dinner of insects moving around in complete darkness. Special muscles in its throat make it possible for the bat to chirp 160 to 190 times per second. Because it receives so much information at once, it has to differentiate relevant information from signal clutter. To do this, the bat emits chirps of varying frequency patterns, each of which echoes off objects differently depending on the object's size, shape, and distance from the bat. Then, by analyzing resulting echo intensities, it creates a mental map of its surrounding physical space. When looking for prey, the bat first sends out low-frequency chirps over a wide range. Larger objects will reflect more intense echoes, but it's often the smaller objects, like insects, that the bat is targeting. Once a bat receives low-intensity echoes from small potential prey, it will re-emit a high-frequency chirp directed toward it. When both high and low-frequency echoes return to the bat, it is able to ignore the now irrelevant low-frequency waves that reflect from the trees or rocks that surround its meal.
So I hope you understood some of it, but the most amazing thing is that when the bat is looking for its prey, it's emitting a slow... First of all, the first thing that the video showed, hopefully, was that the bat is creating a sound that's so loud, if the bat didn't have a stapedius muscle, it would deafen itself. And then it's changing frequencies in terms of as it approaches the prey. If this is the prey, as it's approaching the prey, it needs to enhance the resolution of that object, so it increases the frequency of its chirps so that it can get an enhanced resolution. The video showed it beautifully. We'll send it out afterwards, but it's really a fascinating system. But then to hear Hagura's description of it, I just pulled out some of the Hagura's commentary on this. First, Hagura talks about the magnificent design, and these are Hagura's words in quotes. Bats can fly at amazingly high speeds in pitch darkness, and their vocal cords and ear receptors are perfectly harmonized. At such pitch, if a perfect protective system had not been devised, sounds could damage its own ears. That exact point, it deafens itself. 2, the solution is a problem resolved by the creation of the stapedius muscle in the middle ear. At each click the bat emits, the muscle pulls aside the stapes, which touches the eardrum. Hence, no sound of the click is directly transmitted to the internal ear. Those errors are mine, apologies. Wonder, this is Hagura's description of the wonder. How can it perform this magic beats comprehension? These are Hagura's words. Bat's ears does it amazingly complex world of sound and echoes, which are different pitches with different frequencies. Thousands of bats flying in the same chamber. They do not interfere with each other's signals. Subhanallah. This is Hagura's picture of, again, from the book of the middle ear anatomy. Again, please review it, in the stapedius muscle and the magnificent role it plays. Our clinical problem is we're irradiating a lot of babies who need central lines. I know, again, Sadr was a pediatric gastroenterologist. He sends a lot of patients to his pediatric surgeons who need long-term TPN, and they get Broviac catheters, et cetera. And in the operating room, we're doing a tremendous amount of radiation, because fluoroscopy is the only way we can do these procedures. But wouldn't it be great for us to do it without radiation? Because we all understand that radiation can cause a certain, the old, or the rule of thumb that's sometimes quoted is for every 1,000 CT scans, you're causing one cancer in a child or a baby. So that's the clinical problem. Well, certainly we all understand the advantage of ultrasound. It's point of care, it's procedure suite friendly, it permits real-time ultrasound and no ionizing radiation. But the problem with using ultrasound for central line placement is that basically, number one, it's hard to use ultrasound through air and ribs, which are very solid, and catheters and guide wires do not reflect sound waves. That's the major problem, is that you can use an ultrasound, a commercially available ultrasound, but we can't see the guide wires or catheters that we're trying to place in patients because they're not, basically they're not visible, you know, they don't reflect the sound the way tissue reflects the sound. So what did we think about this? We said if catheters and guide wires aren't reflecting the sound, then let's put something on the catheter so that it can fake the machine out, so that it can potentially see, so the machine can see the catheter or guide wire. And this is what and it wasn't myself, it was an ultrasound engineer at Hopkins, and also one of my residents, who's now a faculty member and my partner at Northwestern. We came up, and he's a bioengineer, we came up with this idea of using a piezoelectrode, and this basically is a piezoelectrode on the catheter itself that can listen, again, using the piezoelectric effect, which basically the same catheter can listen for frequencies and then it can emit a sound. So what we're talking about is that the ultrasound is on the left side. Well, first of all, this is the standard way we do ultrasound. You have the ultrasound probe on the left side, it hits the tissue and it comes back and reflects. But the thought was, can we take, if in this situation you have a catheter or guide wire that otherwise does not reflect the sound, let's actually put a electrode on the other side and have it emit a sound so it makes it think like as if it was bouncing off. It's almost faking it in terms of that, so that the catheter can then be seen. When it wasn't previously be able to be seen, it can now be seen on an ultrasound. So what we did was we miniaturized a piezoelectrode, put it on a catheter. We basically had a system where the catheter itself, to make the ultrasound machine visualize catheters and guide wires, we created a specific burst pattern to simulate blinking. And I said, we used it in any commercially available ultrasound. That was actually the second version of the device. These are some of our initial schematic drawings. We did it in an initial pig, and you can see that the ultrasound is showing that those interrupted lines is the piezoelectrode emitting sounds like Morse code, just letting us know, and you could see it, and that's what the upper arrow is, in the vessel. That's where it is. So really, it's almost making the ultrasound machine look like there's a catheter. There really is a catheter, but it's making it look like as if it's reflecting it. I hope some folks, I'm sure, can follow hopefully what I'm saying. We developed a patent out of this. This is an interesting story because we did this, the problem solutioning was in 2006. We created the concepts in 2020. It was licensed by Cook Medical after we wrote to them. They immediately licensed it. They spent $1.5 million building the prototype. But the challenge is that there was some patent, overlapping patent concerns. And it's interesting, that in itself was enough for the company to say, you know what, we don't want to, and they had some dispute with Johns Hopkins, and they decided not to progress. So we finally revised our patent claims. We have a clean patent, and now we're just alhamdulillah, a few months ago, just started to launch this company. But the vision is all catheters and guide wires could have active echo technology, which makes them visible on commercially available ultrasounds. And the most amazing thing is about our patients. We're not if we can use this technology, we do not need to irradiate patients anymore. So in conclusion, Allah is undoubtedly, of course, the most magnificent of creators, and echolocation is one of his innumerable examples. The principles of nature can be utilized in solving today's unsolved medical diseases and limitations of therapies. I hope this is one example of a project we've done. Novel active echo technology was based upon the principles of echolocation in Mother Nature and the intellectual property, which is now licensed has resulted in a company. We're actually trying to negotiate with Johns Hopkins for those rights of those licenses, so requesting prayers for this, and acknowledged my co-inventors as well as my son who edited that video. That video was a very long video. He made it very short. Jazakallah.